Hello, everyone. I'm Sharanjit Leyl, and I am so excited to be the new Chancellor of Bar University from May of this year. Now, I want to welcome all students, staff, and colleagues of Bar University to Equality Week. Now, as you know, this year the theme is to celebrate belonging and being part of a larger community that's diverse and socially inclusive. Now, it's going to be an exciting week full of activities with discussions, talks, panels, film screenings, and I just wish I could be there with all of you to enjoy it all in person at one of our beautiful Bath University campuses. Now, as we celebrate belonging, I'm struck by what belonging means to many of us. Now, for quite a number of us, it starts with being part of a family, being part of a unit in the same household with your parents, your siblings. And then, of course, it could also be being part of a group of friends, mates you've had since childhood, or even, your favorite football club, for instance. And later on, it could be about belonging to an organization, a school, a job, or even the city or country where you happen to live and work. A community that really functions as your tribe, a place where you feel at ease and a sense of belonging. Now, I've been lucky enough to belong to all of these, and to a varying degree to the diverse and many different cities and countries where I've lived and worked. And just like many of you who may be new to Bath University or who've come from elsewhere, learning to adapt and adjust to new places is a really important life skill. We all have to learn to belong. Now, I grew up in a city in the flux of transformation, which, to some extent is still attempting to find a sense of identity. So, its many citizens can feel a sense of nationalism and belonging. Now, this was Singapore, where I was born. And it's a very new country compared to the UK. It only really achieved full independence in 1965. And it's also made up of a lot of immigrants. So it's very multicultural. It's made up of Chinese, Malay, Indian communities and others, many of whom had families who only arrived a few generations ago, which really makes cultivating a sense of what being Singaporean is incredibly difficult to do. And even today, I have a very close family here. I've got a great group of friends who I love to spend time with, but I still have an uneasy sense of belonging to the country I was born in. Now, I moved to the US as a teenager with my family, and that was probably the one place where I least belonged. No one was able to pronounce my name or even know the country I was from. Though to be fair, it was the 1980s, and throw in being, an awkward, shy teenager, finding a sense of belonging or community was near impossible. Now, this was followed by neighboring Canada, where I went to grad school. And to be fair, I was in a very diverse multicultural city, Vancouver, where things were a little easier. Canadians did make an effort to pronounce difficult names, and some of them even knew where Singapore was because they themselves had come from far-flung places like Hong Kong or Punjab. And the food, I should say, was vastly more authentic. And in fact, I think that food, the food that we eat, cuisine, is really an important part of belonging because it really makes you feel at home. Now, in my 20s, I lived and worked in a completely foreign city, Tokyo in Japan, where, of course, I truly enjoyed my time. Now, my newsroom spoke English, but everything beyond it was in Japanese, which was truly very foreign, a language I never had very much success at picking up. However, Tokyo remains to this day one of my favorite cities, even though I categorically didn't belong. No one seemed to mind or hold it against me. Plus, it had such a rich and incredibly wonderful culture. What was there not to like? And then my job with the BBC took me to London a little later on. And of course, very much like Tokyo, it's a fun, exciting city. And thankfully, this time I did speak the language. and no one seemed to mind that I was from elsewhere. In fact, it really was the first time in my life where being from somewhere else was truly embraced. The more unusual you were at the BBC, the more interesting. And the fact that I came from Singapore, with a population of just a few million, few of whom were actually born here, like I was, made me unusual. It really meant I had a story to tell. Now, fast forward nearly 2 decades later, I am now in Bath, a beautiful UNESCO World Heritage City where, again, there's a really welcoming attitude to embrace newcomers, as many of us are, to celebrate our differences and what makes us unique. And that's precisely the kind of environment that you'll find at Bath Spa University, a place of learning that will embrace you for your unique qualities, even if you happen to be from Bath or near it. Each of us is special with a story to tell. Now, our differences deserve to be celebrated in a week like this one, in a welcoming community that, above all, makes us all feel like we belong. Now, have a wonderful Equality Week, everyone, and I hope you'll enjoy the many discussions, talks, the films that have been planned for you. And I really look forward to seeing many of you in a few weeks' time to hear all your thoughts about how it went. Have a wonderful week ahead.